I used to love internet mystery videos, and I honestly couldn't get enough of them. But over the years, it's almost like we've run out of new things to talk about, and everybody's just copying the exact same thing. And if I have to hear one more bloated creator talk about an ARG one more time, I may lose it. So I sought to change this up and find a few things that haven't seen much attention online, or maybe any at all. So without further ado, fasten your seatbelts, because we're about to do a dive down the rabbit hole. Casey Nicole Swenson is one of those gems of the early internet, and it has a verifiable ending. Casey was a completely fictitious internet persona created by middle schooler Kelly Swenson and a couple of friends in the summer of 1998. Back then, the internet was so much different, and you could actually get away with this. Kelly and a couple of her friends spent days generating Casey Nicole, going so far as to build a webpage for her and steal pictures of a totally random girl from their town to portray her. Remember, this was before social media, so this was still possible. Kelly's mom, Debbie Swenson, found out about this, and instead of stopping it right there, Debbie decided to portray Casey herself. And reading over my notes, boy, is this about to get weird. For over 2 years, Debbie would play the character of Casey on her weblog, describing herself as, quote, a sunny blonde teenage basketball star in Kansas who shares her thoughts and photos. Casey quickly became old internet famous, and a fan of hers named Randall Von Der Wanning offered to do all of her clerical work so she could just focus on posting. And he seems like an OG Discord mod, but he's important later. Over the next year, Casey's blog grew to massive proportions, attracting the attention of the New York Times, who did a telephone interview with her in the year 2000. Casey was high rollin' in the age of broadband when suddenly she dropped the bomb on her countless fans that she had leukemia. Casey's blog evolved into an often vividly detailed depiction of her battle and experience with cancer. Now at this point, I want to remind you that this is a middle-aged woman pretending to be a high school girl with cancer. So behind the scenes, absolutely none of this is actually happening. But the internet loved this story, and Casey's battle riveted the masses. And I kid you not, over the course of 2 years, millions of visits would be made to read her blog. During this time, adoring fans were sending Casey, in reality Debbie Swenson, gifts, flowers, and letters, pouring their hearts out to what they thought was a teenage girl dying of cancer. This was all too much for Casey's internet friend that we mentioned earlier, named Randall Von Der Wanning? I don't know how to pronounce it. Who was worried that Casey was gonna die, so he insisted that he visit her. Casey told Randall that of course he can visit, but first she needed to return from a family trip to see the ocean. And heartbreakingly and well-timed, while on this trip, the very day after Randall asked to meet, Casey died of an unexpected aneurysm. Casey's fake mother, also played by Debbie, posted to her own massive blog that her daughter had passed. I can't not laugh because this is all so absurd. The blog post announcing this fake teenage girl's deadly aneurysm at the beach, played by a middle-aged woman, read, "Thank you for the love, the joy, the laughter, and the tears. We shall love you always and forever. Casey Nicole passed away May 14th, 2001 at the age of 19. I mean, when I tell you this blew the internet up, this blew the internet up. Everywhere, there were countless people talking about this girl and writing fake obituaries and letters to her family. However, the cat eventually got out of the bag. A broad named Sandra Mitchell and the weblog Metafiller eventually uncovered the truth by tracking down the actual girl in the photo based on the high school mascot in the background. When they asked the girl about the photos, she was shocked that her picture was being used by someone else. Randall, who kind of seems like a Discord mod, was furious along with many others about this situation, so they reported to the Peabody, Kansas police where Debbie lived. The police gave the case to the FBI as possible fraud, but the feds declined to investigate. So in the end, Debbie got off scot-free and has a pretty legendary story, and for as long as the internet exists, her own place on it. Her parting words in the New York Times were, I can't make this up, "A lot of people have problems. I know I helped a lot of people in a lot of different ways." Gene Ray and his time cube. I don't even know where to start with this one. Gene Ray, in my imagination, is the embodiment of the best of 4chan degeneracy and possibly the best troll to have ever lived. Gene invented the theory of the time cube, and in his words, is the smartest man in the world, divinely chosen and bestowed with the knowledge of the time cube. And to him, we're all retards. Gene believed that we had all been indoctrinated with the theory of oneness, and the theory of oneness has to do with there being only one day and anything else related to the number one, really. Gene believed that we had all been indoctrinated with this theory of oneness, and that an evil, shadowy hand was paying off teachers, professors, and anyone else in power to keep the veil over our eyes. Gene posits that the Earth is not round, but rather a four-sided cube, with each side experiencing its own 24-hour cycle. 4 days equals one Earth rotation. Day 1 is midday, day 2 is sundown, day 3 is midnight, day 4 is sun up. No, not morning, sun up. So our normal 24-hour day is actually only a quarter of the real 96-hour day. Now, this obviously makes total sense, but Gene's theory doesn't stop there. He actually has some very interesting opinions on humanity, believing that we are all pyramids and that there are only 4 races: whites, blacks, Asians, and Indians. Mexicans are fake, and so is everyone else who doesn't fit in these categories. The Earth has 3 equators, and humanity has 4 stages of development: baby, child, parent, and grandparent. Now, this is only a little toes dip into the deep end that is time cube theory, but let's continue. Obviously, you and I know this is insane, so what's the big deal about all this? Gene is clearly an old dude who's lost the plot. Well, time cube's place in internet lore is forever sealed, not so much because of the theory, which is insane, but Gene himself, who managed to build a genuine cult following. He debated students and professors on his theory, offering money to anyone who could prove him wrong. Gene made it onto television at least once, doing an interview on the short-lived show Unscrewed. But the crowning jewel must be the nearly 2-hour lecture Gene gave at Georgia Tech for hundreds of young students. I genuinely find this little piece of history so fascinating, and since I was 2 at the height of its popularity, I have no connection to the story, but looking back through the portal of the internet, it seems like this was a giant meme. No one in their right mind would actually believe Gene, but Gene was so convincing in what he believed, it appears that many became enamored with him. His theory, so obviously false, was alluring because it called out the corrupt world of academia, which anyone who's ever stepped foot into a school can understand. Alrighty, y'all. The 2006 volleyball incident. It's 2006 and an incident has just occurred at a high school volleyball match, either a shooting or a bombing, with 17 to 24 dead. You expect to see news reports of this everywhere, but strangely find nothing. So you begin discussing the event with a friend who has no memory of what you're referencing. This is the case of a 4chan user circa 2006. We wouldn't see the story surface online until sometime in the 2010s. When searching the topic, you can find a 2017 archive, but this leaves us with even more questions than answers. The first post in the archive references a much earlier post that has seemingly been lost to time. The thread got a solid amount of interaction, with a bunch of people trying to figure out what happened from their collective memories. And based on that and similar places around the internet, this is what we know happened with the 2006 volleyball incident. We know that it was either a shooting or a bombing in the Midwest, specifically the Dakotas or Nebraska, but some people think it could be Montana. What's so weird about this story for me was that I remember actually hearing about this in the early 2010s, and I'm certain that I saw a photo of the aftermath with a number of bodies on the gym floor and in the stands. What's more, I'm from Ohio, a very Midwestern state, not far from the others mentioned. So although the proof of this story is only some scattered memories, there's more to this than I think we realize. Many people attribute this to the Mandela effect or a government psyop, but I'm not sure what it is. What do you think? The Russian archaeologist's mysterious machine discovery, or the swamp mechanism. This is a beautiful piece of internet lore I guarantee you won't find on Nexpo. First though, I'm gonna have to switch into my Russian mode. Several sites published an article describing possibly the greatest archaeological discovery in history. It's so groundbreaking that it would change our entire perspective on the human tale, and then the coverage stopped, with today only a few paragraphs and some incredible photos. The pictures of this strange fossil, which upon closer inspection appears to be housing gears for a machine or computer of some kind. Based on my rough translation, the caption tells us that in the remote peninsula of Kamchatka, tourists uncovered this strange fossil, and quickly archaeologists led by Yuri Golubev were called to the scene. Using modern machinery, they determined that the mechanism must be around 400 million years old. Soon tourists began to arrive in large numbers, so the mechanism was taken, and to this day, there has been no more news. There are 2 ways to see this. One, the NPC way, which is that it's obviously a hoax. If it was real, it would be taught in the schools and on the TV box. Or we can think this through. The best way to hide a story like this would be to cover it up and make it appear to be some Russian hoax. The best way to control the narrative would be to never tell you about it. This explains why there are almost no references to find anywhere, and why the case seemingly vanished from the internet. Moreover, Russia is a giant and strange country with a fascinating history, so it wouldn't shock me if this was real, but I want to know what you guys think. Alright, those 4 are what I've got for you today, but there'll be another video out soon. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.